Rally your employees. I mean, I think, we were talking about this earlier. Everyone wants to feel like they're with a winner, work for a winner, date a winner, married to a winner, whatever. And I think, customers and how a customer reaches success with your product, your service is a great way to demonstrate and sort of share that feeling of winning amongst your colleagues. And so your advocacy efforts can't just be around pushing out or exposing these stories just out to, you know, outside of your organization. You should actually, get your own employees to absorb them and be excited about them, and then have them be able to organically share and feel like they're with a winner. And that enthusiasm then comes out in the kind of activities in their, social platforms, and their sharing. Instead of looking like an army of bots, hopefully your employees are just as excited as you are as a customer marketer to put out something that a customer said about your technology, your product. I think, Click, we could do better at this. And I think that's one of the areas that the team will be looking at going forward, to really partner with our comms team and our amazing social media experts, so that we can authentically rally our employees. We're not interested in exposing sort of the army of bots of people saying, check this out, check this out. But really trying to internalize and having folks feel excited about the wins that we're having and the value, hopefully, that we provide to customers. So I think, again, I think feeling like you're with a winner, you work for a winner, is a big part of the psychology of weathering economic uncertainty and sort of the tumult that we're all exposed to. And it can really keep people focused on the good things that you're producing for customers. And that's always positive.
It's huge. And I think, Gillian, you absolutely drew on something that is critically important here, which is this is not just a rinse and repeat, turn all your employees into an army of bots who just go and say the same thing, who just reshare the same thing. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about using systems and strategies that leverage your authentic voice of your employees, just like your customers. That authenticity, if they do that, if they start doing it and they feel like they're working on a winner, you have that ownership. That improves every function of your company and makes all of your efforts, right? It's the lubrication to everything that you're doing. It helps move all of your body parts at the same time. Your joints will all work better when all of your employees feel like they're co-owning this voice that's going out to the world. All right, I keep doing that. Number 4.
I mean, mobilize your advocates. I told Ari I probably wouldn't go down this rat hole. I'm going to just say one thing. Advocates is not my favorite way to describe a connected customer that is repeating or espousing your own, your values and your value from a product perspective. I like to use other words. I mean, we just call them customers, but I understand for the purposes of this, you're trying to differentiate that you're taking your very connected, hopefully successful, delighted customers and exposing them out into the market, out into the various channels that are important to the way that your users buy, and doing it in an organized way. And I think this sort of is bleeding into the next one that we'll get to in a second, but it's about how your install base, your existing customers, your delighted users, they affect every single revenue generating function within your company. They will affect, obviously, how much exposure a net new logo has coming into your business. Certainly, it's new buying centers within existing customers, using those great customers and generous with their time to close deals, etc. But the trick here is you can't just say, great, we'll go ahead and start to do that in a willy-nilly way. You actually really have to be organized about it. And a lot of that discipline in mobilizing your install base and your delighted users has to do with getting budget, getting resources, and getting really organized about your plans and your KPIs. So I'm sort of leading into the next one, but I think maybe it's apropos.
Yeah, I will say one thing here is, getting budget, getting resources. When she says resources, you can't scale just by adding headcount. You're going to need every single group within your organization that is scaling itself from demand gen to customer success has a tool.
Mhm.
You need a tool to be able to scale. That tools do not solve your problems. So you can't buy a tool and expect it to be magic pixie dust. It's not going to solve. You have to have the program strategy there, but you cannot scale that strategy without hiring an army of heads, which you're not going to get. You need a tool. And so that's one of the big points on here of what we're going to move into on this next slide, which is level up your customer marketing. Gillian's got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, and maybe I said this earlier, even that, all roads at a company where you're being really successful in your marketing overall, I feel like all roads go through customer marketing. And in my experience, strictly speaking from the Click perspective, when I looked at sort of the marketing mix, and as I got more confident in my leadership and as sort of, leveled up my own career, I was, more armed to have conversations about balancing budget dollars around different marketing tactics. I don't own, digital engagement. I don't own our event strategy, but I knew that our install base marketing was far below what we needed it to be effective. And so, looking for ways to have those strategic conversations with your decision makers at your company to say, look, let's just look at the revenue facts. And of course, it's going to be different for every business, but from our perspective, a huge amount of our revenue comes from our install base. And then our, just how much money it costs to bring in a net new logo versus how to convert or modernize an existing customer. I mean, it's just math. And so I really asked for a rebalancing over time, and not immediately, but over time, to grow the headcount that we needed to deal with our install base, to really create programs that were impacting their experience, that would allow them over time to organically begin to advocate, which is, in my world, it's a verb, for us on our behalf. And the the wins are with us, right? Like, this is the time. Customer marketing is an incredibly economically attractive model to invest in now, because it's much less expensive than a media buy or a big agency line item. It is a organic, relationship building, strategic way of thinking about and engaging your customers. And to do that, you have to have some of those tougher conversations with your CMO or whoever owns the budget for customer install base at your company, and ask for that rebalancing or that beginning of a rebalancing process. And I would say it was not a light switch at Click, but over the 7 years that we started customer marketing and then, got it to where it is today, that is a much more balanced approach. You have to coexist with the other great parts of marketing and B2B marketing in particular, around brand and digital and web, et cetera. And coexisting is something you have to learn how to do. And but don't be afraid to ask for that rebalancing, and really be real about where your revenue is coming from and how customer marketing can augment that for you.
Yeah, what you just made me think of literally as hearing you talk, because every time Gillian and I go through this, we talk about it a little differently. Every time it brings up new stories, reminds us of new things. And what you just made me think of that's so incredibly important is today you're going through a lot of the listener and the audience right now, you're going through a lot of sessions. Some are very tactical, which are great. How do you get more reviews? How do you build a customer awards program? Why this is so important. You might be saying, well, yeah, this is all great and all, but I need to get my programs done. Is you will continue to spin the wheels. harder and harder. Even if your programs get better, you're still not going to be able to scale them unless you know how to have these hard and strategic conversations. And when I say hard, I don't mean like they need to be hard, like a challenge, or you're confronting someone, but it's addressing real issues. And change is always a little bit rough around the edges, and that's okay. But you want to be able to come in with the stats, with the data, with the knowledge and the language to speak to your executives so that they hear you and make actionable change. And it might not be overnight, but you're starting to set the road map for yourselves, right? And what you're doing in the background is those programs are getting better, right? You're proving your value as you're doing that, and you're able to have these conversations. So you're going to not only level up your programs, but yourself within your organizations.